on, we saw that the profitability from Amazon was starting to get challenged because of supply chain issues and labor issues. I thought we'll just double click into the supply chain issue that Amazon's facing and just put some numbers to it. Not what Amazon's reporting, but actually what we are seeing in working with 4,000 plus brands. It's kind of very interesting to see that the PO fill rate, which is where really the rubber meets the road when supply chain issues all come in and can I actually fulfill the purchase orders, that is on a historic low right now, 44%. What this says is that out of 100 purchase orders that Amazon's cutting right now, only 44 of them are getting fulfilled. 56 are being unfulfilled. Right. It's crazy to think that it's that. And by the way, this is in wake of actually units ordered has increased dramatically in a lot of our categories that you're watching. We are primarily a lot more tilted towards CPG and hard goods, but it's up 81% year over year. And you can see some of the ones inside the category itself, like grocery is PO fill rates are up 68%, and are at 68%, and the units order are up 78%. So it is very interesting that to note this 44% metric, which I thought was staggering in how low this is and how badly the supply chain issues actually hitting a company like Amazon.
Right. Yeah. And even just in your analysis here, when the patio, lawn and garden fill rates being so much lower in some cases doesn't quite surprise me if manufacturing is done non-domestically and that's just the kind of arms race for container availability, no matter what if it's coming from out of the US. But interesting. I mean, really, when you look at this, I think this is really important. Brands need to have their finger on the pulse to be able to navigate through this successfully. Because, again, we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about it with our guests. We talk about it ourselves. The value is connecting all components of the value chain. And that's so important in e-commerce, connecting sales, connecting marketing, what you're advertising with what you're promoting, and then having the supply chain connectivity. So if you were a brand and your fill rates were this low, you would want to make sure, obviously, that this is a given, but that you're non-spending marketing dollars on those items that you don't have available. You're not running promotions on those items that you don't have available. I know that's all common sense. It's more complex in reality than it is in theory. And I think it's worth, folks making sure they have kind of automated capabilities to ensure they're able to do that, because it's okay to do that with 5 or 10 items. But when you start to have couple hundred items, you really need capabilities to enable you to do this at a meaningful scale.
Totally agree. Inventory aware advertising has never been more important. This is the day and age. If you're not doing inventory aware advertising, you're really throwing money down the drain at this point. Yeah. ROAS is a very yesteryear metric. Really what we are looking for is supply chain optimization, long-term revenue growth on a channel like Amazon. Mm-hmm. And one thing which also we have noticed is that not only is the fill rates going down, one thing that we tracked on is what we call the revenue lost index, where we look at how much revenue did a brand lose because of being out of stock, right? And we just look at direct revenue impact, not even like impact to search and the shadow impact that it happens. That's another study altogether on how being out of stock actually leads to tailing effects, larger tailing effects. But we just look at the pure revenue impact. What's interesting is that we are starting to get into almost to the levels of revenue lost due to out of stock that we had to the pandemic levels, like the start of the pandemic, where during the start of the pandemic, we were losing the amount was close to about $102 million in terms of revenue lost, and now we're back to those kind of levels, mainly because of all these supply chain issues that are happening.
Right.
I'm wondering if are you seeing any of those in your category, especially lawn and garden and patio furnitures?
Yes, yes. It's I mean, this doesn't surprise me. I think yeah, it's a direct correlation, right? And to the point you made earlier, and we've talked about this before, but really, retail inventory aware advertising is it's so important, because the you have different availability coming in. Again, if you have overseas manufacturing, and you're importing, no matter what the category, you've got to make sure you're connecting all the dots together, or else you really are creating waste, that is, you really need to pay attention to. And that old saying of the fastest way to make money is to stop losing it. And I think that's important for us to take into account here.